You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Minute to Skim It. We're going to have a great time today because there's so many good books. And it's a previews week, which is always incredible. And it's heavy trade week, which we love to death. This is my good friend Shanice. Also our, general manager, which makes her like super important. And today she had a super hard job because of scheduling chaos that ensued.
But we gotta figure it out.
Cool gamers in the house. Hello. This is Minute to Skim It on the Experience for you guys. Right out of Space Cadets collection. I have no top of my head, clearly. Don't need it. We've been doing this review show for, I think we can probably say 7 years. Spoiler free, but we are going to tell you enough to let you know whether you want to add it to your pull box in time to actually connect with your LCS. Remember that if you are traveling this summer, which is highly likely, I hope you get out and about in the country, you can find the local comic shop near you by using comicshoplocator.com and using the zip code from where you are. As long as you got those two things, you can always find a shop. I always say call the phone number that's on that location service first to make sure that the stuff is the information is still accurate there, because people have changed their hours a lot during COVID as they're trying to figure out when people are getting out and shopping. So day before New Comic Book Day is correct, Josh. I love it. We need to make that a new hashtag, but how do you say it? Is a democadid? Democadid. It's different than, I guess, New Comic Book Day stuff. It's just as easily messed up. So, hey, Steve Gall. All right, we've got a lot of good things to review for you guys. Do you want to hit it up first? I'm always interested to see what Shanice picks. If she picks her favorite thing, she save it for last, or she want to get it right away. Marco Fontanelli is here all the way from Italy. We're very much looking forward to the next Kaiju Max stuff. King Jira. I don't know why I said Kaiju Max. King Jira, and him destroying whatever he needs to destroy for good pizza. If you're not following Marco on social media, you absolutely should, because he's got other things in works that are looking better every day.
See, so my first book is going to be Ultramax from Source Point Press. So obviously by the title of the book is something prison related. So I picked it up, okay, it'll be a standard prison comic. Turns out, since it is again a comic, it's actually takes place in a world where superheroes exist. The main character manages to take out one of the notable superheroes in the world, so he goes to jail for it. So obviously this isn't like a super easy thing to do, so it's highly notable.
So does he go in with lots of rep?
He goes, yeah, so he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be notorious for doing this, but I don't want that to happen, because when you're in prison you kind of want to go in low key, but he killed one of the premier superheroes. Mm-hmm. So he has to deal with the culture of prison, the fact of what he did, and there is a really interesting twist that happens at the end that's like, oh, I may have a new book to add to my pull list after this. But yeah, it's not your standard what's that show that was on HBO, Oz or something?
Oh, so Oz. I never got to watch that, but one of my favorite actors was in that.
So yeah, it's a lot of books this week made my jaw drop. So this was the first one of these books. So it's like, oh, now I need a second issue. It's a cliffhanger.
I think we've kind of gotten that to that place and kind of like entertainment things, right? You watch TV shows and all, it feels like TV shows are kind of all a variation on a theme.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, there's stuff that comes along that you're like, dude. And for movies as well, there are a lot of things you're like, well, I know this is formulaic,
right?
But I still like watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And then was it Christopher Maloney? I don't know.
I do like him though.
Is that so? The person that's my favorite is he also played Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet. If that's him, then yes, he's my absolute favorite actor.
I know who you're talking about. It's on my tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He was serious. So I've really wanted to cosplay him, but for obvious reasons, I cannot because it would look really ridiculous. But he just. Like sometimes you just want to cosplay somebody you like really love.
Right.
I want to. But yeah, I'll just have to keep on cosplaying Inigo Montoya because that works for me. I got the nose. So recommend. You like the Ultramax a lot?
Yes, I definitely recommend it.
And it's a Source Point Press, and we get our Source Point Press directly from them. So our release dates might be different than your local comic shops. Just be aware. Don't go in and be like, but Miss Jen and Shanice said this came out this week and you don't have it, so you're a liar. It's not true. It just means that we get all of ours in one big block that could have actually released at your local comic shop 2 weeks ago or next week. So just be aware. All right, I'm going to show you a book that made me cry this week. It's not going to look like it's a book that can make you cry, but I will tell you that it's if you can make it through this book without crying, then you are made of sterner stuff than me. This is Black Hops. It's part of a long line of storylines that are tied to Black Hops. This is an Antarctic Press book, and it also has ties to other series that Antarctic Press does. So if you like those kinds of things that are shared universes, you'll love it. So all you really need to know to get into this book is that Black Hops kind of started with this very sweet-looking bunny, and the bunny's like kind of like, I don't know, maybe you could call it Handler. But the bunny is essentially like all of the animals in this book have some kind of like genetic mutation that makes them more powerful, or they have abilities, or they've got high training or something. So they might look ridiculous, and they have the most hilarious names. Wait till you find out what this turtle's name is. It's perfect. But the whole book, which is a very thick one, by the way, it would take you a while to read, is really about a man who has, as co-soldiers, dogs. So there's 3 of them. They all have like names. Just like when you have a police dog, they're considered police people, and they're not, like consider them like just tools. They're actually, if they die in action, then they treat them exactly as if they were a regular person doing their job. So, and that's true of all of these creatures. But this fellow gets asked to come and help with some kind of action that they're going to go and do together, and bring one of the dogs. So kind of like the initial meeting of them is like, okay, well, you're just a guy, and that's just a dog, and everyone else that's part of this group has got some kind of ability. So he's like, well, let me show you what just a guy with just a dog can do. So that's the story is about that. And it has a bunch of like really awesome things that happen in the book. It'll definitely, I'm telling you right now, if you need a good cry, you've had that kind of week, you're like, I want to cry, but I want a reason to cry. That's not just like me being sad about, I got to pay my bills. Read this book and you can bawl, feel real good. It'll be a cleansing moment, and you can support your LCS and Antarctic Press, and you might find a new favorite thing. So grab up a copy of Black Hops this week. Just say that Miss Jen sent you.
I still think that's like the best name for a book, like Black Hops. It was like, oh, that's great. I
wonder if it was born that way. I wonder if people are like going, haha, that's a funny, like they were just kicking around names. Yeah. Like, well, we have to write a book about that. It was like the name first, maybe.
Okay. So next book is actually a book that I didn't think I was going to read again, because Edgar Allan Poe, everyone has to read Poe in high school or middle school. Mm-hmm. So the Conqueror Worm, and like the original, like, you know, text. It's like, oh, this just makes me think about the inevitability of death, which is basically the premise of it, right? So with that in mind, and seeing like it in combat, it's a combat in a comic book format, it's interesting to actually, it's like to see just the visuals of it, and it's gross. It is not the book to read and eat at the same time, which I did. So I had to take a little bit of a break after reading it, but it's beautiful artwork. I loved it. It made me I don't know, like what I can say. It's like it's 10 out of 10. It made me disgusted. So it's
So it did its job.
It did its job,
saying?
pretty much. It did its job. So credit to the artist. But yeah, it's, I guess, you know, if you've never read this poem or story before,
I did not.
Now is the time to read in comic format. It's quick one and done. Mm-hmm. You may want to avoid food while eating it, though.
I think for Poe, everyone read the same ones, right? Telltale Heart and Monkey Paw and the Pendulum, all the same. Like everyone read the same ones. I've never even heard of Conqueror Worm. Have you? It's like it feels like I should get, you know, more of his works.
Yeah, the Raven.
Yeah, the Raven. Quoth the Raven.
Do we really need to talk to me about Poe work?
No. By the way, our producer Kyle, who's on right now, he and a bunch of friends lovingly, very lovingly every year put on a big Poe Fest out their way. So you should like get airplane flights and go and visit it if you're a big Poe fan, because they put out a really great event. Gross. Out of yep, sounds great.
Yep.
All right, for everybody that if you've been hiding under a rock and you haven't been reading Donny Cates stuff, especially not the Hulk series, you should absolutely try to catch up, which will be difficult. I think you should be able to get 1 through 6 as a trade soon, and it'll be easier to catch up than trying to actually find these earlier issues. Things you need to know. Cover up your ears if you haven't read anything Hulk or Thor in the last, I don't know how many times, cover up your ears. Thor is carrying around the Mjolnir, but Mjolnir is not what it once was. It's actually been imbued with his father's soul. So it actually is kind of like a smack-talking sword, kind of like Valifax, and gives Thor a lot of heck. Meanwhile, you've got, you know, Starship Hulk here being driven around by Banner, going up against this giant Hulkbuster thing that's been created by Tony, and Tony's inside. So that is where you are when you come into this book. They're having an epic battle, and they're, you know, Tony's really feeling like he's got to step up and maybe having to put Hulk down, because Hulk is like really like ramping up. Like, they think what they're doing is removing gamma from him, so it'll make him weaker, but for some reason it's actually triggered more gamma. I don't know why they keep trying to put him down, because he is an immortal being. He has always been and always will be. So there's big events that happen in this, including the creation of a whole new being or character. So it's a first appearance book. So don't say I didn't warn you. Some of these things will become more close than you could possibly imagine that are on this front cover. So it is part of the Banner of War, by the way. This is part 3 of Banner of War.
Let's see. All right, the next one. It's going to be DC versus Vampires Hunters. This is the homage cover. So it's not cover A, but I really, really dig it.
I pulled the first one I saw.
Oh, that's all good. Like, I love it. Like, I love the homage covers that they've been doing.
It's beautiful.
So this is, I think, one of the few times where I read a book that features both these characters, you know, that you see on the cover, where I actually like finished book reading, like, wow, Damien actually wasn't the worst person in this situation.
Wow.
I was actually kind of rooting for him in this situation. So I went into this a little bit lost. You do need to read the other DC versus Vampires books, of course, but it was still a really fun read to see your favorite DC characters as vampires and people who hunt them down. And the ones who are vampires may actually surprise you, and the hunters, again, will also surprise you. I definitely do feel like I should really just check out the older or the other books, because it's like it just completely just flew past me. It's like, oh, look, check out. There was a part that actually did make me just a little emotional.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like, oh well, why is a book about vampires make me sad? Like, this should be just like awesome. Just
They'll get
like,
over it.
Yeah, exactly. There is a sequence in here that I thought was really, really cool. It made me think of like the club scene in the first Blade movie, where he's just going ham on this, and I seeing that in comic form, it's really, really cool. Yeah, again, if you've read the series already, then this is just another add-on to it, a special bonus one shot. But if you haven't checked the series out, like me, it makes me actually want to check it out. So I guess it did its job. It made me want to check out the other DC versus Vampires books.
Okay, so you touched on something that I think probably only in my life you were the right person to say. Why does everybody hate Damien?
He's just a little poop.
He's a poop. Okay.
Yeah, he's a little poop. That's it. Like I do like him. Like, please don't take me as like Damien, but it's just like, oh, he's just like this annoying little brother who could kill you if he wanted to.
Everyone that I talk to gives him extra heavy eye roll. I'm like, what did that poor guy do? All right. Okay, so this is actually something that's been a really long time in coming. Fox and Hare was actually solicited, I believe, before the pandemic started. And then they pulled it because they wanted to make sure it had a good chance, I think, because it was, when it got announced, it got a whole bunch of orders. And then when it got pushed back, I was worried for it a little bit. But I think I want to make sure that you guys know, don't miss this one, because it is a really great book. So it's about, it looks like, my guess is that they're siblings. It doesn't, I don't think, say so, but it's these two kids that you get introduced to. This book is one of those things that's not told particularly literally, that you find out through reading it that it looks like their parents, they're missing. And so it's clear that they were never found, at least not up to the point where you kind of catch up with these people. So the brother and sister, we'll call them brother and sister because it makes most sense to me. They end up kind of becoming, I don't know, I'm not going to call them superheroes because they fight the Yakuza, but they kind of have these like personalities of Fox and Hare and have some kind of like real skill, right? I don't think they're not superhero, like super powered. They just have real skills. And in this book there, you find them, they're trying to go and rescue some kids that have been taken away for some nefarious purpose. You don't really find out if it's like if they're being trafficked or if they're just like being experimented on, unknown. But this is kind of like a beginning for them. You don't really find out about, there's no storytelling that I remember in which it tells their transition between being kids and this part, and really definitely not any like who took care of them between. They're not superheroes, they're babysitters. But babysitters are superheroes too, just gonna say. If you find a good one, really you only can get a babysitter between the ages of like 12 and 16 maybe, when they start driving, and then you're like, yay, I don't have to take them home after a date. But then by that time they're like, I'm got a date, I can't babysit your kids anymore. So I believe that all kids that can babysit successfully between 12 and 16 are superheroes, just coming from a mom.
Let's see.
I knew it. Do you also eat all the things on your plate that are like okay but not the best thing, and then say the last?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm that person. So Moon Knight 11. My next pick. So this run of Moon Knight, it's my favorite thing that's done so far is they made there's just a super fun supervillain. Super fun supervillain. Zodiac, you just want to just strangle him, but you also want to see him not succeed in what he's doing, but he's so fun, just to watch him in action. And poor Mark, he is just going through it this entire run, which I guess is like just the norm for Moon Knight. My babysitter was cable TV.
And JD's was a super villain.
Oh no. But yeah, like again, it's just there's nothing really new that I can say about this current Moon Knight run. If you haven't read it, please jump in. The first trade is already out. You can find it at your local comic store. And it's so fun, and the art is just beautiful. There's a page that features a returning character that's like, yeah, it's like to the point like if the artist was to like sell prints of this page, I would buy it in a heartbeat. Like it's
hopefully they make a poster, right?
Right. It's beautiful. Yeah, I've been, if you've been to the store, if you need to register, I have been hyping this book up so much. It's such a fun run, and if you like the show, definitely check out this book. But have you read Moon Knight yet?
I haven't got a chance to. Everyone keeps buying every daggum copy. It's like I think on our rack we have like what was the last issue, right? I think we've got number 10s maybe on the rack and nothing else. And everyone keeps on coming and saying, where are the rest of them? They're like, in someone else's house.
We have it as a trade.
Yeah, I highly recommend. If you have an LCS that you trust to do polls for you, you should absolutely add it to your polls. It's just one of those series that you just believe at some point it's gonna like hit its top. I keep on adding more, and it keeps on selling out. So it's a tough thing for your LCS to figure out how much to order too. So if they know for sure they've got your copy sold and it's in your box, then you don't have to sweat it. So and it helps them a lot.
Oh yes.
Oh my gosh. Good boy. Volume 2, number 1. Oh my goodness. Okay, so if you're hoping for a John Sparks focused issue, you're not going to get it this time. He's in this issue, absolutely for sure, but this focuses in on a couple new characters and them trying to go and break into a place where it looks like maybe old spy assassins go to like chill out and like retire. I don't know what they're actually after, but everybody in this issue, I believe, is canine, because there are humans in this universe, but I believe this one's focused on the canines and what they're doing. And the thing I love so much about Dr. Christy Blanch's writing, characters in the book that say to each other, sit, stay, because they're dogs. But it's awesome. So if you like the world of John Wick, that's the people that are working on this book are John Wick fanatics. So it, as its heart, is kind of familiar in the whole like assassin world. And the fact that Flint Sparks, which is the dog that's on the front cover there, was after doing in anyone that injured his human John. But let's move past that part of the storyline completely. So if you don't have the first series, it's just 3 issues long and you should be able to find it anywhere. John Deere is greater than John Wick. Oh, I don't know. That would be kind of a fun meme. But yeah, definitely pick it up. The art is really awesome. It's by Kit Wallace. And there's a bunch of other books that are inbound that are from the exact same creative team. So if you like this one, then you'll like Little Red Ronin that's coming, and Postmasters, and gosh, I swear there's some other ones, but they've got a lot. They've worked really well as a creative team, and none of the books are anything alike, so it's not like you're going to get bored of them. But yeah, Kit Wallace's art is just very unique. You know, like some artists can change their style to meet the needs of the book, and I'm sure he can, but he's kind of like, in my mind, like Scotty Young. Why would you change your art style if that's the one everyone likes? So says, I Hate You, Please Die. That's it. I Hate You, Please Die is another one. So many good books out from them. So you should put everything from that creative team on your wish list at your LCS.
Alrighty. Okay, Devil's Reign Omega, featuring the Daredevils on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
JD.
Gosh. No, I'm all thrown off. That was a good
That was a good burn. Sick burn.
So yeah, Devil's Reign Omega. So it is the segue point. It's the connecting point between the Devil's Reign event and the upcoming Daredevil book that'll be out soon. Also, again, please check your local comic store to make sure you are pulling it, and also pull it because this run is incredible. So before I get into it, I'm one of those people, the dreaded trade waiters, because I'm totally missed. You see?
Yeah, that kind of post might get people fussed. I know.
Oh yeah. So I'm a huge Daredevil fan. I missed out on the first couple of issues because it's like, oh, surely they won't sell out.
Well, after the Zdarsky run, you're like, going, it can't be any better than that.
Yeah. So it's so I spoiled myself. Started doing a few things by reading this book.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. This is on me. It's like, oh, it's Daredevil. Of course I'm gonna read it. But if you're reading Devil's Reign, of course, read this because this will get you ready for the next book, as well as another book that was announced, Thunderbolts. Because it's like, oh, how is that going to tie in? So it's like, oh, now I get it, and I really like it because, like, again, like it's setting up some pretty interesting plot lines for the future, and it just makes me want to get Devil's Reign and just read that, but I know I'm way behind.
Okay, so don't tell me who, but did they resolve the whole giant storyline that Devil's Reign set up, the battle for power? Okay, so that the person in power is firmly planted then. All right.
That's what I got spoiled on.
No.
And I was like, wait, what? And it was like, oh my gosh, this is great, but what?
Oh gosh, I think that yours might tie into the next book I'm doing, and might not.
Mm-hmm.
But don't react if it does. So, Amazing Spider-Man #2. Be aware, #1 might be tough to track down because everyone kind of ordered it with the expectation that it's going to be the same as any other #1 that leads out of a really great storyline like Beyond. But it is actually better than we had really hoped. Zeb Wells is a really good writer, and John Romita is doing art. So I don't know why we didn't pay more attention and have, a million of these extra ordered. But this is, the way you like Pete, where he's kind of back down on his luck and starting from scratch again. So no money, can't rub two nickels together. And you can really see how kind of far everything has fallen here. It's not really anything. And this is like the cover is a lie situation because I don't even think that she's in this book in any way. It's mostly about him reconnecting with an old friend that sometimes is an enemy, who kind of throws him a bone and says, "I've got a job for you, so you can make a little money." And the job is hilarious. It will make you laugh. But in the background, you've got another character. I'm going to say it's Tombstone because you know that if you read the last book anyway, who finds himself feeling like he's been displaced in his place of power and needing to prove himself. And so there's a bunch of double cross, and flexing of muscles and filing of teeth in this one. So don't miss it because it lands in a big cliffhanger that you will absolutely want. Sushi for dinner. What kind? Describe.
Sushi sounds good. All right. Batman Fortress. So this one is pretty interesting. So it's been advertised pretty heavily in other DC books. It's like alien invasion happens and Superman can't be found. So Batman is the only one, obviously, who can take on the aliens, but also find his best buddy Clark. This book was interesting because that's actually on the back burner. This is it actually follows Bruce because there's a blackout in Gotham, because of course, and this does tie into the alien invasion. Oh, that sounds amazing. Sorry. So there's a blackout in Gotham, and of course he has to go out and save Gothamites from the blackout. What was really interesting, so there have been criticisms of the character saying that he does more as Batman and not more as Bruce Wayne. This book actually touches on that and on other things. It's like, Batman, he beats up someone, he puts someone in a coma for stealing a TV, and it's like, well, that's touched on because there's a incident where he sees one crime, but then he sees a more violent crime. He's like, well, I'm going to go after them because they're about to kill someone. So, let me see. Oh, man. So I'm actually a hardcore defender of Batman Forever to the point I think I actually scare some of my coworkers and customers with that. I'll even show off my.
Do you get your hackles up?
No, not my hackles. I just show them like, hey, look at this vinyl soundtrack from the movie and those little frosted mugs from McDonald's. I have those. Dude, I get this will turn to a Batman Forever defending defense show. But yeah, Batman Fortress, it's interesting. It's my first movie too. But yeah, Batman Fortress, it's interesting because it's like, if you're one of those people who also gets annoyed and people are like, oh, why can't Batman do more as this, as Bruce? Why can't he help, like, figure out these more the systemic issues of Gotham? This book actually answers that, and I wasn't expecting that in an alien invasion book. Yeah, literally, like the plot line that they were really pushing is maybe brought up in like 2 pages, and then it's like, oh, we do need to talk about the alien invasion for the next issue. I liked it, but it was like, oh, that's interesting framing going on here.
It's by a writer that I don't recognize. I don't know what.
I believe he's written some Star Wars stuff. If anyone could confirm,
you guys, anyone fans of Witta and can inform us? All right, what is my next one? Oh, let's do My Little Pony. Full disclosure, I don't know a lot about My Little Pony. I never watched the cartoons, and I only very rarely read the books. So it's a good. I do this sometimes on purpose. Pick a book that is not really my normal thing, so I can tell you whether someone that is unponied can enjoy a thing. Like, can you jump into the ponies here? Yes, you absolutely can. It gives you enough information to do it. So I don't know whether I know that these look different than the pony styles that they used in the previous books. I think this is meant to match the new show that they're doing. And the ponies feel real young, and they kind of having young problems. So I'm just going to tell about this one. They suffer some kind of weird glitch at the beginning of the book in which their powers, like their ability to fly and those kinds of things, have a glitch and kind of like they fall out of the sky and no one gets really seriously hurt, so don't worry. And so the rest of the book is them kind of like putting on their detective hats and trying to figure out what happened, and will it continue to happen? Should they be scared about flying? Because if they fly seriously high and it goes glitchy again, then it's bad. And so there's a reason, and there's something that has gone missing. So it's really them trying to find that thing that has gone missing. So it's adorable. It's very cute. And if you want just something to like a feel-good book for this week, it is a good feel-good book. Good book. Rogue One also wrote some episodes of Telltale Walking Dead. Oh, and Last Jedi. Well, that's cool.
Let's see. It's like that game of Operation. You have to be really careful about not like setting up the buzzer noise. Legion of X. So I've been really lucky so far since being on the show that I've gotten a majority of like the X titles, which makes me happy because it gives me a chance to actually read them. So going by the title, Legion of X, a certain character does make an appearance in this book. And what I really dug about this, it's, any Nightcrawler fans, which I'm sure a lot of us are, you'll really love this book because you get to see Kurt just, bamfing it up. And also, so you don't use the word police, but it's basically the, I guess, enforcement team, but on Mars. So it's setting up a pretty interesting like a storyline, and I'm not sure if this is going to be an ongoing a miniseries. Do you know, Miss Jen? If it's going to be ongoing?
They've been doing shorter series for these side books, which I think is perfect because, like, remember when they had the last Kurt book, Way of X, was like that, where it was like a 5 or 6 issue series that dealt specifically with kind of like the religion of Krakoa. So I'm assuming that that's this way. Even for the long series now, I think they're kind of breaking them up into storylines. Like even like the Marauders, they let run for 20 issues and then they restarted. So I think people in the past, people were more interested in having a long line of numbers for their collection, and now what I think they're seeing is that people are intimidated by where to jump in if it's a really long line of numbers. So they and plus a number 1 means more kind of like eyeballs. People will jump in at number 1. It's a good place to get in. So I think that's what we're seeing. So
okay, so that definitely makes sense because it's like, all right, what they're setting up, I can't really see it being like a super long storyline, but I can see it wrapped up in a nice little bow after 5 issues. So like the other like X-Men books, it has a lot of humor to it, which I really liked. There is a little word bubble where it's like science, but it's in colors. It's just like it's like colors on a rainbow.
That's the explanation for what's happening.
It's like science. Yeah. So it's funny, and there is a mutant who I feel just awful for. Like what's his name? Forget Me Not.
Oh man.
And it's like you're talking to him, you may turn around and then you just forget about him. So I'm like, that has to, yeah. So that would trip me up if that was like my mutation. That would just drive me bonkers. But I definitely do kind of want to check it out just for Kurt mainly. This is the Kurt show. And I'm happy about that. And also my boy Juggernaut.
Like I can only hear Val Kilmer's voice in my head now when you said that. I forgot you were there. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I forgot you were there. Oh, man. Books that are awesome. Mirka Andolfo, the first time I ever met her was at Image Expo that they used to do every single year, but the last one that they put together was, I think, 2018 and coincided with the Comics Pro meeting. Lovely person to meet if you ever get a chance to. Unnatural, when it was released, was a super hot book and dealt with all the beings in the universe of Unnatural are like human kind of animal hybrids. And they used to be under kind of like the control of the government and were told who to breed with. And they like to keep breeds with each other and stuff. And she, the main character here, who looks like she's porcine, she falls in love with Wolf. And so that becomes like a really crazy part. And the book itself was a little bit of like, the guilt of reading a romance novel because it was mostly about the steamy bits. So it was a lot of wolf on pig action, etc. But this pulls back. It makes fun of itself a little bit in this book. It pulls back from that a little bit because it actually gets called out on its own self. But in this one, it's them having just a normal life, right? So they own like a cafe together. And this little one here is actually the sister, maybe half sister of the wolf. And is having difficulties fitting in after being kicked out of her last school, and it's not fitting in the new one either. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. And the title there, Blue Blood, gets addressed a little bit because she mentions that it's weird to have red blood. The blue blood must have some significance to the previous books that I've missed. And so that blue blood is going to pull back into this story. So if you missed the first Unnatural, I've told you everything you really need to know to be able to enjoy this one and jump right in. So get into it. The art is all really awesome.
That was something I never thought I'd hear today.
Nightcrawler passes gas in public, then teleports to avoid blame. Maybe.
I mean, if I had a mutation, I'd probably do the same thing.
I love so much, by the way, like just outside the windows here we're in our toy part of our store, and I hear lots of little happy kid noises, so it makes me happy.
Is he a Nightmare Man? Oops, it's like on the camera.
Mhm.
So this is a one shot from Source Point Press. So obviously you don't need to read anything to get yourself prepared for this book. It kind of gave me vibes of like a short Stephen King story that you would read like in like what's it like a 4 past midnight or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's about a man who when he was a kid around 12 years old, he just had these recurring nightmares about the character you see on the main cover, who looks like this biker, like just like this really just demented biker who would just torture just this poor kid in his dreams. And it felt so real to him. Like if he was held over a fire, he'd wake up just skin just super hot, even though it's like freezing outside.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to when he's an adult, he's in a cafe and he sees a man who looks like the guy from his nightmares.
No.
So now it's like, is he real? Am I going insane?
Mm-hmm.
And he tells his therapist is like, well, confront him. Like, to say like, yo, are you real? Or
you confront him.
Exactly. Tell the therapist, like, why don't you do it? So I won't spoil the obvious answer to this, but it's just, it's interesting because it's a majority of the book is just these two men talking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still just kind of it just creeps you out because it's one of those favorite things I'm seeing more and more in horror. It's like horror films where like most of the horror takes place during the day where it's sunny, where you should feel safe. And it's not like really dark and creepy. I really enjoyed it, and the only bad thing I can say about it that it's like a one shot. I would genuinely love to see more of it. But yeah, it was just like, oh, this is creepy. It's taking place in like this little cafe. And again, so Nightmare Man, same thing as Zodiac from Moon Knight. They're those antagonists that I just, oh my gosh. So real fast, I've never actually finished that movie because of the scene at the cafe where that person thing just rolls out. Even thinking about it just it freaks me out. Daymare Man, yeah. That's me the name of the book, Daymare Man. But it's
Hi, Jenna. Creepy.
So same thing, real fast. Nightmare Man, Zodiac, just favorite antagonists who, again, you just want to choke them, but they're also just really funny, like in a really dark way. Yeah, I would really recommend this book.
Supposedly there's a movie that is like maybe it's a Netflix movie that they've done all the statistics on it. It's something that's currently playing. They can see that only 12% of the people that have started that movie have finished it at all. Most people leave in the first like a little bit. They don't make it very far, but they just see it all drop off, and only 12% actually make it.
Oh,
that's a scary movie. Wish I knew which one it was, because I'm definitely not going to watch it. But it would be fun to double dog dare people that think that they're impervious. What about y'all? Y'all like you can watch anything, no big deal, no fears. All right. Here's another one of those books where I read it because I wanted to see if I could read number 1 of the 3rd series of a series and still be like fine with telling you guys about it and not getting lost. The romantic comedy Human Centipede. That's just grossed out. That's not scary. That's just grossed out. Okay, so all you need to know about Pearl is that it's a Bendis book for one. And it's part of his Jinx World stuff that he has got his own universe built. It's been under DC before, and I don't know, maybe they even did. I think it's in Jinx World at Marvel even.
No, I think it's just DC, and then
okay.
Yeah.
And now it's at Dark Horse. So you can watch anything, just can't sleep. No, thank you. So in this case, the main character is the daughter of a Yakuza clan who she is now in control. And now it's really about her trying to exert control and find her way in this world. There's also, I guess, it feels like they're one of the characters who says more than once that they are like a regular like government agent. That seems awkward for them to be friends. But anyway, and everything seems kind of fine until she gets a call from, we'll just say she gets a call that like really sets everything on edge. It goes from being very calm and everyone's sitting around smoking things and drinking to all of a sudden a lot of motion. So if you like good drama stuff, the art is just so good. This is Michael Gaidos. So if you've never seen Michael's art before, you will just love it. So try it out. Maybe you'll like it enough to go back and read the 2 previous series. And if not, you can just read this one and enjoy it.
Because I was about to ask, it's like, oh, Pearl. There's like, wait, Dark Horse. So it's like I didn't. So interesting. So would you? Okay, so you wouldn't have to like have read the original series. You could just. Jump
I
right
definitely
in.
have not. I've never read any. I've looked at them before and thought I at some point want to jump in and read at least something from his universe, in which this is the one. So maybe I'll go back and get drawn into the rest of it because it did feel really nice. It didn't turn me off of the universe at all. Maybe more interested.
Okay.
You got 2. Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So Disturbed, Dark Messiah, and I was tempted to do the noise from Down from the Sickness or down with the Sickness before I did my review, but I don't know if it would come out clear enough. So when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, that can't be like the guy from the Disturbed albums. There it is. That one. So it is like, oh wait, okay, that's the guy from Disturbed. You don't have to know anything about this band. You can go in completely blind, and you still get a really fun anti-hero comic book. It's obviously a super bonus if you know who Disturbed are, if you know any of their songs. I went to it, it's like, okay, cool. I like the band Disturbed. But I after the book ended, it's like, oh, this is really good. Like, I hope that they continue with this character in other books, and like just after this, it follows a firefighter who is very good at his job. He lives and works in a small desert town in California, and there aren't a lot of jobs in this town except for this major tech company who totally isn't evil at all. So there's a fire that happens that seems questionable. It's like, how did this fire start? And something happens to the firefighter. So this ties into the gentleman you see on this cover. And like just kind of pointing out, which that's what you were saying earlier, is that a lot of books lately, they've kind of had like these like cliffhangers of sorts. And again, these are characters that you just met, but you're still just like, wait, what? Like, how did this happen? Because it's
It's ill.
Oh my gosh. No, they're not ill, they're fine. But yeah, it's one of those things like, yeah, I never thought that a Disturbed comic would make me just go like, whoa, I need to read more. But here we are. I'm not saying that in a like real kind of way, but it's like, oh well, Disturbed has a comic. I'll maybe check it out, but now I want more, and I don't know how to feel about this.
I gotta know who put that pun up there. Is that a J pun? There's the exit.
No, that was me.
I'm just thinking of who is more punny up there. All right. Okay. Spectro. Probably the book this week that you'll look at and think, man, that won't fit in my comic box. I will pass it just for reasons. But don't! This is entirely written and drawn by Juan Doe, who's done a whole bunch of books, especially at Aftershock, including Dark Arc, if you want to know one that for sure you've probably heard of. This book looks like, on the front cover, that it is kind of like a horror, and it is, but I'm going to tell you what kind of horror it is. It's space horror. space horror is hot, right? I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie that they put together that was like related. It's like part of the Cloverfield trilogy that happens in space and is terrifying. And don't watch it if you don't like scary space stuff. But this one is so beautifully drawn and written. I thought from the description of it that it was a series of stories in the vein of like, here's a story finishes, here's a story finishes. But that is not what happens in this book at all. It is just the craftsmanship of moving from story to story is going to blow your mind because every story leads straight into the next one flawlessly. It just keeps going and it keeps drawing you in farther and farther. I don't know, other than calling it space horror, I don't know where it. So if you are a fan of specifically Love, Death and Robots or Black Mirror, you will absolutely love this book. So please don't miss it. You'll be sad if you do. Your turn.
It actually really sold me on it. So when it comes to like space horror, this might be unfair or not. I always tend to compare anything comic book or movie related to that movie, Event Horizon. If you ever seen that,
like that, a more what am I thinking of? Twilight Zone.
Ooh. When you say like a Black Mirror, it's like, oh, now I'm definitely gotta check this out.
Yeah, it's not gross, if that makes sense. It's not gross. There's no centipedes.
All right, my last book is Saga. When I saw Jen earlier with the book in her hands, I was like, how can I very nicely ask her?
I knew that if I really tried to take that, my arm was coming off. No. So it was okay.
So I think it wins. You got Spectro, I got Saga. Of course. Thank you, Jay. So yeah, this issue of Saga, it's a very quiet issue of Saga. Well, as quiet as you can get with the series. It's nothing like super like ground shaking happens in it. It's just this is a continuation of what's going on. But then again, like it's still Brian K. Vaughan writing, so it's still like 8 out of 10. Like it's not bad. It's still really good. The cover, it's when you first see it, it's like, oh, this is a beautiful cover, as always, from Miss Staples. Mm-hmm. But then when you read the context of the cover, like, oh no, this is sad.
We have a lot of sad books this week.
Yeah, a lot of sad
/ scary. That's the theme.
Tragic horror. But yeah, it's nothing I can really like critique or like super praise about this issue. There is something that happens on the last page, like every issue in Saga, that'll make you go just like, what? But this time it's kind of like, oh, dude, what? Kills characters you love.
Well, maybe.
You know? I can ask him that at a con. It's like, hey, killer. So what's a K mean? Killer. Brian Killer Bond. I really want, and I'll say this for tomorrow, but one of my favorite things about Saga is reading like the letters panel, like the letters column, because you'll have people saying, oh, this book made me cry, or like the comment said, it's like, hey, stop killing people. This issue, as always, I'm looking forward towards the next issue, because it's like, oh, well, what can they do now? Is this what's going to happen next? Of course, if you're reading Saga, it's another enjoyable issue. If you're not reading Saga, how and why? But
what rock are you living under?
Right? But yeah, it's Saga. It's good as usual.
Yeah, that's still $2.99. What is wrong?
Right.
I think it's part of the contract that Brian said it will always be $2.99 no matter what. And I'm sure that they are taking it in the teeth because paper is so expensive for them right now. Also, remember, y'all, that it's previews week, so make sure to pick up a copy of previews because it has really cool Star Warsy stuff on it on the other side. And also, I wanted to point out to y'all that there is a big announcement that just got made this morning. First thing, Mullet Cop got picked up for development. If you haven't tried Mullet Cop Out, it's a ridiculous book. The main character works at the mall as a mall cop, of course. And the mall in this case are infinitely large, and sections of it are run like by gangs. So it's a very rough place, right? You're going to really seriously want to go there, I guess. And so he gets pulled aside in order to be like a super secret agent, and is put as a manager of a food place in the food court, like you do, I guess, if you're going to be a super secret agent at the mall, and is given a supercomputer that looks exactly like a microwave. This is all set in the 80s, by the way, hence the mullet. His super secret disguise is having a name tag that says something else because he doesn't look any different than he did before. And the microwave is called the Mall Industries 2000. Yes, that is the MIT instead of Kit from Knight Rider. Yes, it's very all hilarious and tongue-in-cheek. And it's in development as an animated feature, which makes sense because I don't know how in the world you would make that after, Paul Blart Mall Cop. You couldn't make a reality one of these because it would be always compared to that masterpiece of a film.
Well, no, looking at the cover, it's like the only actor I could see playing him would be Danny McBride.
It's absolutely Danny McBride.
Who now has to voice him in the movie.
Absolutely. All right, that is all we have for today. There are a bunch of trades also that are coming out. Oh, a heads up, if your LCS has had Demon Slayer manga on back order, Diamond's orders filled this week, so including number 1. So head on over to your LCS this week and see if they've got theirs in, if they had them on back order. And also a great number of Junji Ito books also filled from their back order. So if you like a good manga horror from the master himself, you should grab those up. Do you have any other things you want people to pay attention to this week?
Well, definitely Saga. Moon Knight, definitely Devil's Reign, because I want to talk about it at work tomorrow, but not spoil it. That spoiler.
You're welcome, Triple B.
Not spoil anything for anybody, and definitely got to talk to you about the show about Spider-Man to see if we're on the same wavelength.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good. All right, thanks everybody for joining us.
Yep.
And do remember, connect with your LCS. If they have a longer heads up than you calling on Wednesday morning, it's always nice to call them tonight and get it on the wish list. It'll be done in the morning when you get there. Hey, Nick Barucci, head of Dynamite, who has an awesome trade paperback for Altered Carbon going to be at your LCS this week. Definitely pick that up. We had a really good interview on the experience with the creative team, and it should be up now. So if you wanted to go watch that, if you had some time, you should go over and check that out because it was a really great interview. And I also talked to Dr. Christie about Good Boy. So those 2 interviews are easy to find, and it's under the Talking Shop ad. All right, I'll see you guys next time for some more Minute to Skim It from me and Shanice. Bye, y'all.